And we're live? We're live!
We are.
This is different. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Apologies for making you wait for about quarter of an hour there. Our friend Fonz forgot about the fact that he's supposed to turn up today. So we were just waiting for him in the green room. He never turned up because, oh man, I'm out with the wife. You didn't tell me. Did tell you because, I forgot. But thank you so much for joining us. It will still be an epic show. Why? Because the great Colt Eastwood is here despite the fact that he has COVID and he wasn't going to turn up, but he's such a soldier, man. Thank you so much, Colt Eastwood, for joining us, bro.
Thanks for having me on, Cass. No, I'm just joking. My voice is a little bit rough, but yeah, actually, when I just did that, I felt like I was actually dead. Thank you so much for having me on. Yeah, the voice is a little bit rough, but you invited me on. It re-energized me to come back to the world of the living. So I've been laying around, barely playing games, just watching movies. And you know what I realized? Games are so much better than movies. So I want to get back to games.
Definitely. No, but well done, man. Thank you so much for coming on. I know you were ill. I felt really guilty for asking you. I did. But yeah, we will try, ladies and gentlemen, to fill in the fourth slot. I've sent some invites, so let's see who comes up, because we want to do a little fancy little, Acer's magical touch. Speaking of Acer, well done for adjusting so quick. I couldn't do all this stuff. How are you?
I lack buttons to press. I like to run things on the show and bring up gameplay and trailers and see who's talking. I've got none of that to do, so I'm just going to sit here and sulk. Fonz. No, I'm good. It's great. What more can we want? We've got Colt here, so even if no one else comes along, we can have a great conversation, aren't we? So.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the only problem is one of the main topics we're going to discuss is a game that none of us have had the chance of playing today, well, it just came out. We didn't get a press copy and we haven't had the chance of playing it. The person, Fonz, who was a big fan of the game, didn't turn up, so there's that. But we will get into it, obviously. For those of you who are subscribers and who may have happened to come across our source video that just released a few hours today, you'll see we covered a little bit of the fallout that followed not Forza Horizon Forbidden West. But let's go. We'll talk about that in a bit. But a couple of things happened this week. Well, a few things that I want to discuss. One big one that Acer is working on a video on. Maybe has given up.
Trying. Haven't given up. You're talking about Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk's HDR is a little bit of a mess, so the video is taking longer than anticipated. But yes, let's talk about Cyberpunk 2077.
Yes, let's talk about that
27.
Yeah. Well, wow, my mixer's not working, so I can't do auto-tune. Well done, boys.
Everything's going right now.
I'm wearing these gigantic headphones because I can't get my wireless earbuds. I got a whole new PC set up, and I'm like, yeah, it's been one of those weeks. So when I heard you guys were having problems, I'm like, thank you, I'm not alone.
Trust me, you're not alone, as you can tell. But Cyberpunk 2077, one of my most anticipated games until it released, and then I was disappointed by some of the media's handling of the game, disappointed by CD Projekt Red's handling of the game, its performance of the game, shattered dreams by Tears for Fears.
No, that's
no. You're giving me nothing but a shattered dream.
Everyone that was missing the auto-tune.
Johnny hates it.
It might have saved us a little bit.
From like 1988 or something. Yeah.
Wait. Give him. Yeah, we're back. But
it's too late, guys. We've already had that moment. It's like that Simpsons episode where they got the boy band and suddenly there's no auto-tune. Everybody's heard you now.
Oh, hold on. We got
heard
your mic cut down in volume for some reason. Go back onto
yeah,
it.
There
you go. You're good. You're good. You're good.
There we go.
Good.
So, sounds sexy. It's not my birthday. Thank you so much, Hoggy Chani, for the $5 super. She goes, PlayStation is a monopoly hashtag. I'm not going to read all these hashtags, but I'm just going to read them. Where's Spartacus? The only person who's asking that question, are you scared of Spartacus? Remedy makes crap games now? Meta under 90 is not good enough. Hope you're feeling better, Colt. Hoggy, that's very nice of you.
Yeah, it's
Colt
very nice.
Colt's
Remedy
looking
might
fine.
disagree.
Remedy. Oh, yeah.
Can we talk about Crossfire X?
Yeah, let's talk about Crossfire X first, because that's not on the docket for today, but IGN did their review and it gave it a 2 out of 10. There was only like 4 reviews and the game looks horrendous. What's your take on that, Colt? Xbox has no games.
So I'm going to pull off one ear because I think it's easier to do the show. But anyway, Crossfire X, I played the one mode they had during the beta. I'm like, this isn't bad. I mean, it kind of feels like Call of Duty Battlefield. Like, I don't really like this sort of stuff anymore, but it's not bad. And people were like really mad because when the game came out, it's not good. So
Yeah.
the problem with Crossfire X is Remedy is behind the campaign. The campaign is like one of the worst first-person shooter campaigns, one of the worst like games to be reviewed since Ride to Hell Retribution in like 2011. Like,
Right to hell.
do you remember that one? It was the biker gang or bike.
Oh, don't do
biker
this to me,
gang.
Colt. You're killing me. I can't bring up trailers. I want to show everyone what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's really bad, and it's so funny because I have this thing with Remedy. I don't really love most of their stuff. Like, I liked Elden Lake. I liked Quantum Break well enough to finish it, but I did not like Control at all. And I just had a feeling like, what is this game going to turn out to be? And Crossfire X is probably the worst reviewed game of the past several years, maybe the past decade, as far as like high clip games, right? I don't know what else got a 4 out of 10 that wasn't broken.
Not really many games. That
I mean, help
think
us out,
of.
Chad.
That's
You're
good-
like,
that's a good question, actually. What games got 4 out of 10 that wasn't
Some
broken?
people
yeah,
can
like
see
what's
a
a high
piece with
quality
that.
exclusive or a high clip, not
CFD.
quality, but like
Not
a
overall.
prominent game, right? A prominent game. This is like backed by Xbox and Remedy and Smilegate, which are massive. So,
Well,
yeah.
I gave The Order 1886 a 4 and got death threats for that. That was just fun. But Crossfire X is not on the same level, no, but it's still... I think why it makes such a splash is because Xbox has no games. No, Xbox has hardly anything like to shout out for quite some time now. This is a topic I was going to ask you at the end, but I'm going to kind of just leave that to you because you're the Xbox man. Xbox has no game cult, has no games at all until what? Starfield drops later?
No, Redfall, Dark Tide, Tunic. There's a bunch of games, right?
Do we have dates for these games though?
No, and that's another thing we should talk about today. But basically, the first half of 2022 is the same setup as we had as 2021. Like, once you got into the spring last year, Xbox was loaded with games the rest of the year, and they're all high rated, except for the Ascent, which Ace and I love the Ascent. But this year's the same problem. Stalker got moved to December, so it's all about relativity and perception, where PlayStation's got bangers because they've got like 4 games coming out in the first half of the year, and they probably have God of War Ragnarok at the end. So it makes Xbox look really, really super dry.
Yeah,
And there's nothing they can do about it.
So, well, then, you know, that just adds more pressure on Starfield to really hit it out of the gate with the reviews, no, Asa? I mean, as an Xbox fan.
It does. Even if Starfield can hit or it can miss, and either way, it's fair to criticize Microsoft for what they do up to that point. Because we said last year, like, they need to fix this. They need to fix this. And we said the year before, and we said for the last 7 or 8 years, they can't just focus on the holiday. It's fair to say that it won't happen again. Like, they've got so many studios, and it won't happen again. But it is also fair to criticize them because they've had a number of studios for a number of years now when they first started their acquisition spree. So it is a fair criticism of Microsoft. Everybody with an Xbox wants more games, and that's not to say that you're short of things to play. We already mentioned, and we'll probably go back to Cyberpunk. You've got Elden Ring. You've got a ton of things to play, but Sony are always stronger in the first half of the year because Xbox traditionally don't try. In future, they will.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's going to change. When do you think that's going to change, though?
I think this is the last dry patch that Xbox will have, pretty much.
Oh yeah.
Till they die.
Oh yeah. That's interesting.
Early next year.
Summer 2022.
When they die.
Yeah.
Summer 2022 when they die. Yeah, they're gone. This is it. The last few months of Xbox.
Oh wow.
No, that's not.
Stu says 20.
Definitely not what I'm saying. I'm not saying the Xbox are about to die. Thank you for listening, Gaz.
No,
it's the last dry patch.
What he's saying is, once like the first set of games come out, like Dark Tide is going to be a cool game. Like there's some stuff they struck deals with, but Redfall will probably be in September or October.
Yeah.
And that'll be a first party game, and then Starfield, and then Forza Motorsport, and then after that, Avowed and a bunch of other games are coming in 2023 and 2024. But the problem is they had like 0 studios in 2018. Okay.
Yeah.
All the way up till 2018, they had basically 3 studios: Halo, Gears, and Forza, and then one they were shutting down, Lionhead. Right? They didn't really have studios. So 2018 means 2019, 20, 21, 22, 23. It takes 5 years now for any studio to put out a big blockbuster game. And so
how long did it take for Insomniacs to deliver for Sony? I know that's not fair. I know their games were in development and things, but those studios weren't sitting on their hands before they were acquired either. So it's a little unusual that they've had studios since, like you say, 2018, and 4 years later, it's still dry.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want from Xbox is to crank out a game ASAP just so they can fight a list war with a low-rated game that's unfinished. And that's another thing we need to talk about today. And it's about delaying games, Gaz.
Delay the games. I will chat.
Delay all the games. I've got too much to do.
Yeah.
Just delay everything, please.
Let them delay everything. Well, a game that should have been delayed, got delayed multiple times, but still wasn't enough, was Cyberpunk 2077. I am seeing a lot of mixed things. I started playing it earlier today. I was playing it on PC, and I never went and got ahead with it because I had a sour taste in my mouth with what the game could have been and what it was, but I did intend to go back. I've got it on my Xbox Series X, and it's really smooth. I will say, though, the ray tracing isn't even, to me, as someone who doesn't have good ray tracing eyes, as Asa will say, I could see a difference, but I'm just going to get on with the 60 frames. It looked really good, just on the performance mode. But this is an Asa question. And chat, let me know if you've gone back to playing Cyberpunk 2077, because CD Projekt Red are banking on you doing that. Asa, what is your take on it?
Fun, because you and Colt have like opposite opinions of Cyberpunk already from when it first came out. I know that because you enjoyed it, didn't you, Colt? And Gaz, you really didn't enjoy it despite playing it on the PC as well. I played it on the PC, and I felt that it wasn't ready. Not so much because, I mean, it looked gorgeous, didn't necessarily perform well, but the bugs, particularly around pedestrian AI and things, killed the experience for me. So I didn't play it much at the time. I've been having a look at the console versions, so PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, and a little bit of the PC since this 1.5 came out, which they're treating as like a soft relaunch of the game. They're pushing it now. They've paid up to put it on even Sony's store, and we know that costs a lot of money to put it on the front page there. They've put it on sale. They've given a 5-hour trial. Chat, let us know if you've been playing it. But for me, the console versions, so long as you are playing on performance mode, are fun now. Pedestrians, I'm not going to say they're incredibly sophisticated next-gen super tech. They're kind of behaving like pedestrians in Grand Theft Auto 3, but that's a big improvement over what they were doing before, right? So now you like shoot a gun and they might panic and run, or they might fight back or something like that, rather than just walking into you and saying something and walking into you and like, stop walking into me. They don't walk into you very much anymore. There are still some bugs in it. If you play it now, you'll find NPCs clipping through each other every now and again, or some glitches and things. But the main thing, I will get onto you in 2 seconds, Colt. The main thing, because Gaz actually asked about the ray tracing mode, and people in chat are talking about the ray tracing mode. Do not touch it. It's horrific. It's so bad. And that's not to say that the ray tracing doesn't work. The shadows that they're doing, they're way more... Like, you can look at it, you can switch between modes, and Cyberpunk's nice, it lets you switch on the fly. So you can switch from the performance mode to the ray tracing mode, and you can do a direct comparison and see the shadows cast into the environment, and you can look at the light sources, and you can go, oh yeah, those shadows do make more sense. And then you'll turn the camera and go, what the hell, I can't see anything. It's a massive blur now. This is just terrible. Switch straight back to performance. It's good on performance. You won't be calculating the light sources and shadows while you're playing live. Stick to performance, and it's a good game now.
Cole, you were going to say something. By the way, Cole, your dreams come true. We've got one of our community members joining us. Hargreet is going to join us. Hargreet Chani. He's
Really?
got Rio. He's got a mic. Yeah, I've sent him the link. So waiting for him to come on. That's going to be weird. First time I've ever seen him. It's good to get the community all set up with us. That's nice, isn't it? That's
yeah,
nice.
I mean, Hargreet and I have been talking every day for like the past 2 or 3 weeks. So we've gotten to know each other pretty well. So I'm excited for that. Cyberpunk, it's so hard for me to talk about the game because I've got like 170 hours in it or something. And it just really feels like a really great 360 era, PS3 era game. And I don't think it does anything that you wouldn't have seen in that console era. Ray tracing mode
very good point.
on console is worthless. This is my opinion. And I've argued with some of my friends, like it's not worth 30 frames with the heavy motion blur. If you have motion blur off, there's so much visual stutter when you turn the camera. It is unsettling. I haven't seen any what's the word? I haven't seen any visual changes that would make you want to use realistic ray tracing in the game. The game looks identical. The quality looks the same. I drove by and here's my problem. Like the characters, there's so many things. I love this game. This game is so great. My opinion is just you should have played it last year. And if not, just play it now and enjoy it. Quit pretending like it's technical prowess because it's not. Every pedestrian looks like they've been lit by a cartoon. Like there's flat shading. There's no shading on the characters. They just look like you stuck this 3D model in the program and you just stuck them on there and didn't put any light and they walk around. Just, nothing looks like it's supposed to.
Said really, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
And I've been playing. I played like maybe 5 or 6 hours this week on the new patch, and they fixed nothing that made the game not feel amazing. Like the cars still overcorrect and you can't control them. They don't have the right weight. Driving is horrible. Running's still floaty. The shooting's still like old Call of Duty style, but I still enjoy it. It's kind of like, I don't know.
Yes!
It's still a great game. Here he comes.
Look who's here, and he's got that. He had to have that background, ladies and gentlemen. Hargreet, how are you doing, man?
Right, how are you guys?
Bro, it's Jason Ronald, the Sikh version. Your beard is massive. Looking cool, man. You're looking cool. Thank you so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. This is an epic moment. We've got one of our community members joining us live on the chat. We got our user interface back. You get to be on the news ticker and on the show. This is epic, man.
Yeah, great.
How you doing, man? You good?
Good enough. Good enough. How about you guys?
Yeah, good, man. Better that you're here. Well, Hargreet, now we're going to have at least 80% less money on our because you're on the show. You don't have to super chat, but it doesn't matter because we'd rather have you here, man. So, Hargreet, as our panel member, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Hargreet Chani off Pornhub. No, Hargreet Chani. Yes! Sorry. Hargreet, talk to us about Cyberpunk. Have you played it since the update?
I have played a little bit. It does seem a little better, but I only played it on the Series X when it originally came out. And then I just knew there was going to be a next-gen patch. It'll probably play better. So I played like a half an hour, and then I said, I'm going to stop. I just wanted to check it out, see what it's like. And I knew I was not going to play the game until the next patch came out. But Cole's been saying that doesn't actually change much. I think Dealer's been saying the opposite, that it absolutely changes stuff. I'm just happy that it works better, and I'll just play with it, with the next-gen patch. Yeah, that's kind of where I've been. I haven't started it yet though because I've been playing Dying Light, trying to get that finished first.
Same. There's so many games that are to play. You know, even if Xbox has a really dry whatever until Starfield and Redfall hit, there's so many games to play. But you know, Colt, this is where me and you disagree, and Huggy and Ace. I would love to get your view on it. But it just sounds like I'm always like really like stuck up on, or already have unrealistic standards. But I just find like, thanks for that, Colt. I just find that. Cyberpunk, in order to fully redeem themselves, chat, let me know if you think I'm being a bit overzealous here. But I think in order to redeem themselves, CD Projekt Red need to do a lot more. They, in my opinion, really misrepresented the game. When we talk about player choice, they really went on about player choice in press events, in public events, and showcases that was delay all games for gas. Claymard, you're right. No one would play anything if it was up to me. I do think that in order for CD Projekt Red to make Cyberpunk great, they somehow have to do what looks like the impossible to me, which would be to materially change the game fundamentally so those choices make a difference. To inject, maybe this they can do, make AI routines more, a lot more than some 360 era stuff. Colt, you said something that actually Jeff Grubb, in his really great review, an honest review, and we had him on before he did the review, and he was kind of, I could tell he couldn't talk about it, but he was saying the same thing, but then he did in his review, which was, this is a 360 era game, kind of those mechanics realized up to current standard, and that's not what we were sold. So I got hyped, and you're right. Relisky, sorry, and the poll came up, so I can't read it. I'm just gonna say it still sucks in that poll, but yeah, Relisky. They do have. There was a lot of hype for it, but CD Projekt Red did push that hype. They delayed. It was the product that was in the works for 10 years. Asa, before I go into the gents, I'm very excited Huggy's here, but tell me what your thoughts on a redemption story of a CD Projekt Red is like, or should I ask someone else because you look busy?
No, you can ask me, that's fine. It's difficult because I'm one of these people that loved that studio for a long time before Cyberpunk 2077 came out, and they clearly terribly mishandled it. And it's not just that the game launched in a broken state, it's the way that they masked it, restricted what people could show on reviews, hid the console versions, all of these kind of things that were properly shady. I know that you had criticisms of Cyberpunk's wider game in terms of the impact of your choices and how the open world's played out. I've not played enough to get into that. For me, the new one, the atmosphere and the performance and the look and the feel of it, and the fact that there are still bugs, but they just don't interfere as much as they used to. They've built a game that... Oh, the other thing, if you played it on PC, by the way, no PC touches the maximum settings on this game. I think they've got the basis of something really good now. And when they have another couple of years to deliver their DLC and things, if they deliver it in the same way that they delivered the expansions for The Witcher 3, then this could shape up to be a fairly monumental game that you can remember well for a long time to come. It's not quite there. At the moment, it's gone from a bit of a disaster to a quite good game. But it's got the capacity to go up from there as they're building it now.
Okay, I'm an optimist. I think of that. What about that? What about you, Colt? Do you share Asa's sentiments there? I know you liked the game, but what would you like to improve on this game?
Well, I mean, it's not really. It's such a great game. It just it really does feel like when we look at The Witcher, like we thought, look at how amazing and immersive The Witcher was. Cyberpunk is only going to be better, right? It's going to do that and more. It doesn't do anything more. It doesn't even really reach the expectations of what The Witcher 3 did. So, like, I'm looking at this footage here. That looks amazing. But when you walk up to pedestrians, it doesn't look like that on console. It doesn't. And of course, we're still playing a Gen 9 aware version on the Series X. Like Dealer and I argue about this ferociously on Party Chat. I have 150 plus hours in the game. He's got like 5. So it's like, or whatever, he's been playing it a lot now, but like I've experienced the whole game as it was. I played about 5+ hours this week with the patch. It's exactly how I remember. I have high quality captures. I have amazing screenshots. Like, the game looks really great, but I don't know. It's just a really, really good 360 era open world game. They didn't do anything new or anything. I don't know. Whatever. It's fine. Yeah. I love the game. There's no reason for me to complain. I don't know why I am. But
no. I mean, one thing I will say, and I'm going to read to you, Hargreet, before we move on to the next topic. If you haven't played it, the game is still, as a traditional old school game, not the genre defining game. It's really good. Some of the side characters are really well voiced, and there's the core story you will like. I really like. I love the cyberpunk setting, so there's a lot to like here. So don't take my pessimism for something that you think you would share. I mean,
and it has Keanu Reeves, right?
Keanu Reeves is a bit of a weak point for me in the way he's implemented it, but I do like him as a person and an actor. But yeah, no, definitely.
One last little thing on that. When people say it's like a 360 game, I think you have to be specific. If it's going to be like a 360 game, it's going to be like a 360 Rockstar game, not a typical 360 game. All right? Because
of course,
there aren't many games anywhere that try this scale, that try and deliver a cinematic game within an open world in this way. And Cyberpunk is very much doing that. It's the way that it's shot and the way the interactions are there. It's like it tries to meld that kind of linear Sony style cinematic with a big interactive open world. So the ambition's there, and I think it's harsh to say it's like a 360 game unless you're very specific that it's like a 360 Rockstar game, which kind of stood out and still do.
Yeah. I mean, 360 Rockstar games still hold its own, but that's what CD Projekt Red had, that pedigree. If they can replicate that, at the very least, that's the base minimum. I agree with you. Colt, we were talking about this. So the next topic was basically Avowed, and you're hearing that Avowed is being pushed for an early 2023 release.
Yes.
That's good.
So I would guess like spring or summer, but this is where we kind of get into the problem where Xbox has not been showing any of their games because they're gun shy because of what happened to Halo Infinite. But Avowed is well overdue. We should see gameplay of it at this E3 showcase in June, I would think.
Didn't Jez seen some early footage of it, didn't he?
Yeah, Jez saw quite a bit of gameplay, and he said it was a little too rough for him to want to show it to anybody or for it to leak somehow. That was in the fall of 2021, I think. Okay. So it's been quite a while. So it would really line up that they're ready to show Avowed at the next showcase, and I really hope that is amazing.
Yeah, I hope so too, because that's a pretty sizable studio working on it. So yeah, what about you, Hargreet? Do you have high hopes for it? You don't have to speak in hashtags now.
Right. I mean, I like the Elder Scrolls types games, so this seems like it's in that same vein. And so I'm very excited to see what Avowed's going to be like. I'd love to see what the gameplay is, but I played Outer Worlds and I loved it. I thought it was a fantastic game. So
which I haven't played yet.
Yeah, but if it's anything in that vein, but it has like an Elder Scrolls feel, I'm in. That sounds like a great game. So
do you think it will be something that matches Elder Scrolls? Like, because a lot of people before the acquisition, a lot of people were holding up like this. Obsidian can do that. What's realistic quality standard you think they will reach with this? Do you think you'd be happy with the Outer Worlds version of Elder Scrolls?
I think it needs to be a bit better than that, right? So Outer Worlds still seemed a little cartoony at times. It was good. It was really good, but it was on a lower budget. And at this point, they've got Microsoft's bank. They really should be able to push and get something really great, I hope, right? But again, even if it came out and looked like Outer Worlds, I wouldn't be opposed to it. It's fine. Like, it has to have good gameplay. And as long as it pulls me in and keeps me going, I'm happy, right? So, but yeah, I would love to see that have that same quality, and I expect Starfield will be a higher quality game as well. But that had a full publisher's backing, right? So, So we hopefully see something good. One point I wanted to make on the Cyberpunk, I'm wondering if like 5 years from now we look back and say, hey, there was a COVID era and a lot of things just went wrong, right? We don't, so there's just a reality to, you know, they had to put this out during COVID and they couldn't really make it as well as they could have, you know, and that's still the case. They're still not at the office. They're still working from home, and it's still causing them to not be able to really finish the game they want, right? That's across the board, right? But you know, I'm not trying to make excuses for one studio, but everybody's having this problem.
No, that's a great point. That's a great point, because if we can find, if it is a case of us retrospectively looking back in the COVID era and then saying, you know, remember that trend of really buggy, every game was buggy when it released, including Cyberpunk. That'd be great. I want to see the end of that era. We talked about this, didn't we, on your show, Cole, about every game releasing buggy all the time now.
I was talking about how Horizon Forbidden West has such great reviews, and even though it's not 90, doesn't mean it's not amazing. And somebody said, amazing, do you see how many bugs are in it? And I want to say, you mean every game? It seems like every game now has so many bugs. And that's after it's been delayed. And when Hargreet was talking about Cyberpunk, we have to remember, gosh dang, it's been a year and a quarter since the release. It's been 15 16 months since that game was released in its state, and now it's got, you know, like when you drive the mini map, still you overshoot your turn every time in the mini map when you have the every time, because the mini map, they didn't even go in there. Like, how hard would it be for a programmer to go in and zoom out the mini map a little bit so you don't miss every turn? I can't tell me, probably 70 million times in the game I've driven by a right turn and I hit the brakes and it's way back there because it pops up so quickly. And like the game just, they didn't fix most things. Like, it's just I think we're gonna look back and say, and willing that COVID eventually goes away, as I sit here with a hoarse voice, right? Willing that COVID goes away, I think Hargreet's right. We're going to look back and at that time in our lives and say, oh, that was that time when games were delayed like crazy. They came out buggy. Everyone had an excuse. It was a horrible time. We're lucky to get games back then. I really hope that's the case.
I really hope so too. Shout out to Deal in the chat. Read the super chat.
Please hit the like button if you're having a good time with the show. I'm happy to be here with the Go Live people and my buddy Hargreet. So if you're enjoying the show, do these two guys a favor, Asa and Gas, who run the show. Show your support. Let's get that like button up to 100 before I blink.
It's going up. Oh, thank you so much, everyone in chat. Thank you for smashing the like button. We've got a lot to talk about. And remember, buddy Hoggy, it's good, man. It's good to be here. It's going to be a good chat. And on the point of chats, super chats, Flame, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. It goes, Crossfire X, more like Inglorious L. Am I right? Yes, it is. It's Remedy was always a weird mix. We talked about this in the show. Like, Asa, do you still have... What do you think went wrong? Do you really hold Remedy in high esteem? You didn't play Control. You didn't like Control,
I did
right?
play Control. I liked Quantum Break, despite some pacing issues with the episodes that it throws in. I like the ambition of Quantum Break. I still think it was one of the most ambitious games of the previous generation. It didn't hit, but the ambition was there. Control... I really liked that I could smash the scenery quite a bit, and it looks quite nice, but there was something about it that, I don't know, it lost me halfway through, so I didn't finish Control. Remedy, I still think they're a good studio. Crossfire is just a weird project that I'm surprised they took on, because mechanically it's their game, but it's not their game, right? So I've not played it, but as far as I know, it is the single player component of the multiplayer game that Smilegate made, rather than something that Remedy have made on their Northlight engine. So it's a weird one. I don't really know what to make of it without playing it. I won't hold it against Remedy. Like, they've just taken a packet of money to make a campaign for this game. Fair enough. Let's judge them on their next proper Remedy game.
Yeah, let's do so. Dan Nazara, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. You're not complaining. What? He says paid $10 for it and really enjoying it. He's talking about Cyberpunk, and that's great. For anyone, for $10, you're getting a lot of the game despite all the issues. There's a great, definitely do try it out. Don't just write it off as a terrible game. That's not what Cyberpunk is. It's an accomplished game, just not accomplished enough to hit its standards. Poll
so
results are in as well.
They are. I was going to end the poll results. I was this close to ending the stream instead. Just like last minute, like, no, wrong button.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that. You have. That's how close the proximity is.
No, I'm just an idiot.
No. Jeez. 71% of you, out of 125 votes, have said that it's good now, and 20%, near 20%, or said it still sucks. 9% of you say it doesn't even deserve a second chance. Wow, that is very interesting. It's good. I like to see the optimism as well, which is quite funny for me to say, right? Yeah. Nehor Smolex. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Thank you so much for the Australian $5, mate. Because do you think other studios have learned from the initial Cyberpunk development and PR disaster? Yes. In terms of learning to see, maybe not like foolproof, because you keep seeing more and more studios still repeat mistakes, but it represents a very glaring example of, despite all the goodwill, all your legacy can go down the toilet like this. Because before Cyberpunk, if someone would mention best studios out there, CD Projekt Red would be at the top. If someone said the best goodwill, CDPR would be at the top. So if they will definitely learn. Warlord, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. He goes, should we be putting pressure as a community on Xbox to show release dates for this year? It's looking bleak, he says. Colt, it's a bit.
Well, yeah, I guess that's just a double-edged sword, because we don't. When you push these studios to show when they're not ready, then disaster ensues, and that's the problem. I think most of these developers are afraid to commit to release date, but I would ask Xbox to be ready for release windows. Like Avowed and almost all the games have no release year.
Yeah.
Right? Hellblade doesn't have a release year. Perfect Dark doesn't. Fable doesn't. Yeah, so, I mean, even Forza Motorsport doesn't have a release year. So it's really, really dicey about what's coming from Xbox, and it makes that wait even worse for fans. And I hear it. I hear it a lot.
Yeah, I think Warlord, we made the answer to that. Well, let me ask. This is about the guests. Hargreet isn't, like a Cult says, they're so, well, you succinctly put it, we don't even have release years for games. Do you think that's good enough?
I mean, again, this COVID era just makes it difficult. So, we've seen so many delays. I would prefer to not say, oh, it's coming out like Redfall, it's coming out in the summer. What if it's not going to be ready for another year, right? And then we just have an expectation it's coming and it really isn't coming. It's just such a weird time that we just kind of have to, give a little bit of space to these developers. It is what it is, right? It's not like Sony has their entire slate telling us when they're coming out. They have two games that finally got release dates, 4 months ahead of time, right? It is what it is.
That's true.
Right? And then, we still have no idea if God of War will even make it this year, right? It's supposed to come this year. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. We don't know. And I wouldn't fault them for saying, no, we need more time. It is what it is, right? I'd rather have the game be better and not come out like Cyberpunk and it's all crap and you're like, I don't like this game. Like, no, we want the game to be good, right? So, everybody's kind of in this boat. I think at this point, Nintendo has more release dates than either Sony or Microsoft.
That's how bad it is.
To me, I like Nintendo, so that's awesome. But it's the same thing. Even Nintendo's been hammered by this, right?
Removed from show. Don't you dare.
Sorry.
No, but Asa, like, that's a sensible take. Well, you're not allowed to be sensible here, Huggy. But yeah, no, Huggy, it's right though. So I see a lot of the community like, oh, the COVID excuse, but it's a pretty big thing, and that's a good segue into my next topic, Asa. But do you want to talk about?
I don't know.
I think you'll lead this topic. Lead this topic because. I saw this doing the rounds. It did seem like bad wording. Talking about broken games, right? Battlefield 2042, Asa. I don't know if you saw. They released a statement, but just to kind of summarize, and you can let us know what you think. It seemed like they were blaming Halo Infinite for being so polished that Battlefield was the reason why it looked so bad. They've subsequently come out with a statement to try and defend themselves. Did you follow that?
Partly. So I'm going to put up some bugs while I talk. So I don't think it's quite as sensational as the press made it out to be. I think when they were talking about what went wrong with Battlefield 2042, they cited some blame on the fact that Halo also came out as a factor, and it is fair, right?
Yeah.
For all that EA did with Battlefield, of course Halo had an impact on it. Of course, when you're going into it, before Battlefield even launched, we used to talk about it on this show, and we said, which game are you going to play come November?
Yeah.
And everyone was saying Halo. So it did have an impact on Battlefield 2042. It's clearly not the only problem with Battlefield 2042. They've obviously shot themselves in the foot, leg, face, any way they can shoot themselves. That's it. That's the lead in. You invite people. Let's go. Hargy, have you played 2042? Do you think it's all Halo's fault?
I did play the early access, and it was okay. It was not bad. Like, it's just I wasn't enthused with it. It was good enough, but it just felt like another Battlefield. I just didn't care as much. So Halo, for some reason, pulled me in. Maybe it is the nostalgia. I mean, Halo has just been a bigger part of my life than Battlefield. So I just felt more interested in that. I was extremely, like you guys, disappointed on the no co-op. That just killed it for me as far as the enthusiasm. But I still ended up playing the multiplayer. And then Dealer convinced me I have to play the campaign. Colt convinced me that I have to play the campaign. So I'm like, fine, I'll play the campaign. Though it did feel very empty in comparison to the co-op that I've always done co-op, right? So, but I felt that Halo really had the enthusiasm behind it from the community more so than Battlefield, and it was more Battlefield killed itself because it had it to start with, and then it just sort of kept whittling away at it with certain issues that it had. And it felt like it just needed another few months, just like everything else with this COVID time, to polish it to get to the point where it would have been a good release, but it wasn't, and that kind of killed it. Now, and to Asa's point, it's fair. It's fair to say that even Call of Duty came out, and it would also take away some of the shooter fans. The other games that are in this area will take away from the from any new entry because people are interested in playing what they're already good at, right? So that happens. So it is fair that Halo might have taken a chunk out of their of their market share. It is possible.
I find it funny that Halo Infinite was so comparatively non-buggy, despite the fact that game itself has quite a few problems. But Colt, to double back to you, so EA have come back they released a statement and they said these stories are not accurately capturing the discussion and the context, which was in depth and very humble internal conversation about the recent Battlefield launch. This is EA's communication vice president John Reisberg. He said it was about key learnings and actions we are taking, not blaming external factors.
Of course not. Yeah. Of course they aren't blaming Halo, but it's not a vacuum, right? They know they released a game that they needed to get off the ground, and Halo Infinite launched really, really well. Like that multiplayer beta came out a month before, right? Mm-hmm. The world jumped onto Halo Infinite, and the reception of the flighting was incredible. And so I know behind the scenes what they were really saying is EA was saying we had to go up against Halo, and Halo won. they're not blaming Halo.
Yeah.
That Metacritic 87 Halo Infinite performed better than Battlefield, but Battlefield also, to Halo's credit, Battlefield was really, really buggy and not a really great, enjoyable launch for them. And so Halo Infinite shined. It looked so much better, more polished. And then as the month went on, right, you start to kind of, the excitement kind of settles and you notice, oh wait, there's more that needs to be here on these games. And so Halo still stood tall, and they need to work hard to keep that momentum going, but it's going to take way too much time.
It's going to take a while, but...
What did you say that guy's job title was?
Say again?
VP?
Yeah.
VP Communications?
You imagine having that, like, you have to fix communications at EA.
I think part of this is EA itself, right? They seem to shoot themselves in the foot by putting games at the wrong time. I mean, if that game came out like, in April, it would have done way better, right? But unfortunately,
that's a good point.
They put it out exactly when Call of Duty's coming out, exactly when Halo's coming out. They knew that this isn't something they were blind to, right? And they decided to shoot their shot right in the middle of everything else. Okay, well, they've done it before, and they killed Titanfall 2. They have to learn from this and say, let's not do that. There's no point.
Yeah.
Better off, especially in a game that's going to be long lasting, put it out when there's no other competition so that people are enthusiastic about trying something new instead of just killing themselves by putting it in other games, right?
The other minor, it's not directly related to Battlefield, but related to that point about avoiding competition, is the whole industry, at least in terms of consoles, the whole industry has spent the last 5-10 years fearing Call of Duty releasing in November, and now it looks like Microsoft are going to be controlling that Call of Duty release.
Yep.
I wonder how that's like the
crazy,
ripple
right?
effect of that. Yeah, it's crazy.
That is a very good point. That's a great point.
Halo never needs to now contend with Call of Duty because they will control both of those releases.
Well, Jeremy Brown made a good point, because do you remember when nobody wanted Halo to drop with COD and Battlefield? Yet Halo did really well. I know it's free to play and it changes the metric a little bit, but despite that, it still did really well. Competition was really weak at the time. Battlefield, as we know, Call of Duty, Vanguard, not really. But still, COD is still COD, and Halo did really well. But on the point of updates, I don't know if you've seen it, chat. They released an update. This has been how many months since the game's launched, and it's really pitiful. The Halo core community is vexed. It's on the forums, and the biggest content creators are really annoyed. Like, such a limp content update. It was so yeah, it is. Limp. It's like Beavis and Butthead. Limp. Yeah, so like that, but it's just, hey, I think 343 really need to fix up. I know you've heard from me, it's not just me saying it. The core Halo community is annoyed, and they compared that with Halo 5's content release 3 months on, and people are like, this is stuff that you should have had.
Can I ask you a question, Gaz?
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody before the show, I won't say who, but a trusted person in the community who said that you and Gaz have every right to gloat about your stance to delay Halo, because at this point, Halo should have come out this coming May or later. Yeah. And remember the other day, somebody came at us and said that they said, I don't call Xbox to the carpet enough, and I don't call them out. And I'm like, well, do you not watch us on these shows and these videos? Like, Halo would have been better off like launching at its very best. I think it would have been better for everybody.
That chap who made that comment made it just a couple of days after I was on XNC, where me and you were literally raking them through the coals, to the point the comments was there like Gaz is still on his anti-Halo tirade. And that's the thing. It's sad, but I don't have faith in 343. I'm sorry, as you can probably tell. But
can I just say that it's not about like calling out Xbox or it's not about like going after the developers or whatever, right? I think the biggest problem, and this goes back to Cyberpunk as well. Gosh dang it, here's my speech. I'm going to stand up on my chair.
Let's do it. Just see your crotch there, but that's how you can do that.
Gosh dang it. Let me just say something to all you publishers out there. Listen to your developers. Listen to the people who are creating the games. Stop making all the choices, publishers. Let your team leaders tell you when your product is ready. You'll make way more money instead of trying to shoot for a fiscal year. You'll make way more money when that game lands when it's ready and it impresses gamers, reviewers, community, and consumers. You'll make way more money and your investment will be paid off in the long shot. This is what happened with Battlefield. Dealer was talking to somebody who told him within EA, the developers were begging the publishers, give us 6 more months. And they said, no, 2 weeks is all you get. And look what happened to the game. Cyberpunk, self-published by CD Projekt Red. You have the developers over here. On the second floor is the publishers. The publishers are kept telling them, nope, November 2020. Nope, that's what we're doing. No more delays. No more. So
yeah, that's a great point.
For us, the consumers, listen to your people who are creating the games. They're trying to tell you, look, we can't ship right now. This isn't going to work. This isn't going to work. And they're going, the publisher going, blah, 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 technical garble, blah, blah, blah. Just release the game. And Hargreet's right. This is what we're running into. We're going to look back someday and go, remember when the publishers called all the shots? We were in the middle of this COVID era. And no, sir, I don't like it. Right, Hargreet?
Yep. Yes, sir. I'm a real horse. You guys get that reference?
Hargreet and I got it. Yep.
That was what was that reference? I'm trying to remember now.
Ren and Stimpy, yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, you guys! This is how you know we're all old here. But yeah, Ren and Stimpy was epic. But I'm gonna magpie into that. But yeah, that's a great point, Hargreet, that Colt made about. And it's actually quite funny because CD Projekt Red's devs had the same issue with getting pressure from management to make the game, where the devs were saying it's not ready. And that's the point with Halo Infinite. They could have delayed that. It's obvious. It's not a redemption story for me. It's a bitter pill to swallow because I want Halo to be good. Why do you think I spent so much energy going against the community to deride and berate 343 all the time? The problem still exists. 343 is still a studio that's relying on contractors. They've got another studio apparently working on another game mode. Why is 343 not settled yet? That it's still got contracting, another outfit doing that.
Just like to be fair, when you say that, like The Last of Us 2 was made by 2,000 people, and they were not all Naughty Dog employees. It's not a big problem.
Last of Us 2 is another example of a multiplayer that. Where's the multiplayer? Where's the multiplayer for factions?
The 2,000 people worked on the campaign.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so 1,000 people worked on the campaign. The quality shows at least they did some management. We're hearing about Joseph Staten coming in, and from, if Jason Schreier is to be believed, in his article, that Joseph Staten fixed it up. He made a lot of last-minute decisions, but obviously not. Naughty Dog didn't need that. They may have needed the contractor grunt. They maybe used the contractors properly, but where's their multiplayer? Like the same, let's keep the same energy. The Last of Us, I get it, campaign is the mainstay, but I liked the multiplayer in The Last of Us, the first one. So when it did get delayed, I was there, you know me, I was firing shots. So like, what? All of a sudden it's not so important. You guys were saying this is such a good multiplayer, and it was great multiplayer, and no one says anything. Because the PlayStation community doesn't really care that much about multiplayer games, or pretends not to, but the exclusives are more single player focused, which is fine, because every console has its own like particular quirks. Xbox is definitely more MP centric in my opinion, but still, like that's a problem. And
can you speak at half speed for me?
Sorry. Because of the gameplay footage, you wanted to
no,
not
I just want you to
away.
speak at half speed because you're like you're suddenly a bit like. I didn't mean to.
Why'd you antagonize me? But yeah, no, sorry. I just think 343 is still in trouble. You won't get a content map for their single player anytime soon. Where are the maps for the multiplayer? They've still got fundamental issues to sort out, and that. So we've talked about that for quite some time, Hargreet, but I won't kill that too much. The main topic of the day, Hargreet. I don't know if you've played it. Please, for the love of God, tell me you've played the game. This is the main topic of. Yeah. Oh, for everyone's gonna.
Yeah, no, and it's because I can't use that bloody DualSense controller, and I'm done with. I'll wait till a PC release to play that. But yeah.
You can't use the controller. That's even worse. You could have just said. You could have just said.
This is what it is. So
I haven't played it.
Yes, my hands start hurting.
Oh man. Well, I haven't.
All for time, guys. I'm getting on it now.
We're getting live impressions from Ace as he manages to play Horizon.
30-minute cutscene at the beginning is great. Wait.
No, we want to play Horizon Forbidden West. Just hasn't been time. It's been working all sorts of stuff. But
I would have bought Horizon Forbidden West, but I just have not felt well, and I'm like, I do not want to start this brand new game while I'm sitting here feeling miserable, because that's going to enter into how I'll enjoy the game. Maybe that's why I'm so cranky about the update for Cyberpunk, but I apologize. I have snapped a couple times lately on Twitter. But yeah.
Your cough's coming now. That's Omicron for you.
Yep.
Just clear up. You sound like you're getting better. But for the chat, if you have played it, tell me. Zeong Epion says Forbidden West has been good so far. I think it's going to be a great game. I think it is a great game. The reviews have been great, except it revealed quite a lot of things that we knew about, and it's just quite funny. The media bias thing now, everyone shares that. Now, Xbox always said there was a media bias, and we've played around with that topic on source videos, and now we've done it today, but the PlayStation side and the topic about Metacritic. Why is it relevant? Everyone says it's irrelevant, and then the first thing they do when a big game releases is just refresh Metacritic, and then not only do they refresh it, they cry about the score. So Horizon was 89 on Metacritic, 89. If it was 90, everyone, the PlayStation fanboys or PlayStation fanbase, would have celebrated massively. But because it was 1 point down, that magical 90 exclusive club, it just set them off, and they got death threats for the person that's survivor. They list all their reviews comparatively, rightly or wrongly. I'm not going to say anything on that because I haven't really looked into it, although they did come back and have a counter which seemed quite solid. But it shows the power of... I've said it here before. Metacritic does matter. Sony does look at it. Shuei Yoshida does tweet it straight away. If it's a 90 plus meta, he will share the print screen. That's what they care about. Hargreet, is this a failure? Hashtag PlayStation 4.
Given a normal studio or a normal publisher, I would say, no, this is fantastic. 88's awesome. 89's awesome. I don't know what they're thinking, but this is Sony, and I don't know. We've heard of rumblings, right, that they are looking for those high metas. I would think anything 80s plus is fantastic. That's a great game, but apparently, they do have internal metrics, and we'll see. I assume this will continue, and it's still it's high 80s. I think they're going to be happy, right, and hopefully consumers will buy this game, and it will be it'll do very well. But I think it's great. I think I'm looking forward to playing it. Horizon Zero Dawn was one of my favorite PlayStation games, so I'm really looking forward to playing this when it comes to PC. But I would think this is great, but we'll see, right? Sony does have these weird metrics that they're pushing for, so it could be an issue.
Yeah, that's the thing. I hope not, because one thing it's exposed, Colt, is the fact that Metacritic, and Tim Dog was saying this, and he's right, that it's always been so weighted, so a couple of outliers can actually review it low, and it will impact the whole of the score. Until you get a significant number of reviews, you can't rest easy on the Metacritic score. So what's your take on that, and the fact that also this game is only one point above Halo Infinite, a game that the Sony fanbase were ripping into for AEA? And what's your take? What's your take on that, Colt? Let's
be honest, because there's a pretty loud voice of the PlayStation community. It feels like Halo Infinite is trash. Yeah, and it is 1 point below Horizon Forbidden West. I would like to remind the audience that almost every single first-party PlayStation or first-party Xbox game is in the low 80s to high 80s, some 90, and that's just how it is. There are a few exceptions, like Sea of Thieves did not score well at all. And Undead Labs, State of Decay 2 did not sell well, but it released outside of first party when it first came out. So yeah, it's just been this perception that people live in. They live in this perception where all these banger games that they include, like, Death Stranding or whatever, the games are great. And I always tell people, I did a video like 3 years ago where I said Metacritic doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter on its own. You can't use it as a standalone. I said this for many years. You can look at a Metacritic score as a purchasing position. You can look at a Metacritic score. You can watch your favorite reviewer on YouTube, like ACG, and then you can, which would be mine, and then ask a friend. I'll ask Dealer, what do you think? Did you like this game? Do you think I would like it? ACG likes it. The Metacritic score is high. Boom. I'll spend the $60 or $70 day one. You make an informed decision, but people are using this as they're loading up their little mushroom shooter, or their little marshmallow shooter gun, and they're setting it up with their ammo. And they're like, I'm going to go on Twitter and I'm going to show this Metacritic score. And I made a couple of points, just kind of remind people, hey, Xbox has 90s, Xbox has 80s. Most of their games are really well. And yeah, I'll probably pick this up at the beginning of the week when I feel better and everything's back to normal. I played all the way through the last one. I have about 40 some hours into it, near full completion on the PlayStation 4. So
I mean, that's a sensible point, particularly about the fact that don't take Metacritic. To me is important, but it's subjected to everyone. It's a sum of the whole. Like, there are other bits to it. You don't just take Metacritic in isolation. Your friends play it. What your reviewer thinks, because there's so many reviews out there. Find a review that has the same kind of mindset as you, because not everyone likes the same thing. Huggy, the Metacritic score of you said that it's quite interesting how Sony will weight this. Yeah. In the event that they don't see it as a success, I just find that hard to believe. But what do you think Guerrilla Games can do, or would they? They're a big studio. Sony can't just shove them away, can they?
I mean, I think the PC release is another thing, right? That will get its own meta, right? And we don't know if the PC release will be met with a higher rating, right? So, that could be a 90 plus. We don't know, right? So, and that does happen. Sometimes you find that the PC version gets a higher rating because it performs better, and maybe the glitches have been worked out, things like that, right? So it is viable that is a path. But I think the ultimate thing is Sony wants money, right? So yes, as long as this game financially does fantastically, and it's high 80s, I think they're going to be okay. So I think it'll be fine. But that's just my opinion. I don't know what their internal metrics are, but I think what they're looking for is to make profit, right? So they want to make money off this. So
that's the thing. And Huggy, you do mention, like Asa, Huggy mentioned the fact that he talked about PC, but could something like Metacritic compel Sony to push the PC release forward? Do you think that does make any difference to it whatsoever? Is it all about sales?
It won't compel them to push the PC release forward. So I've played a bit of Horizon Forbidden West now. It's still running cutscenes, but I can tell you I spent a bit of time with Horizon Forbidden West. I put it on the hardest difficulty, and just for show, because I'm live on stream, I always play it's on the hardest difficulty. I've not died yet. I've also not interacted with the game in any way whatsoever yet.
Is this live stream of you playing right now?
Oh yeah, playing loose term.
That's really impressive.
The introduction is fairly lengthy.
What the hell? I thought this is a long trailer. It's just talking for ages.
It takes 3 hours. It's
definitely a PlayStation game.
It said half an hour, right? Intro.
Have you seen the meme where it's about to load up this PlayStation banger, and then he sets down the controller and grabs a bucket of popcorn?
That's literally chat. Yeah. Come on, this is definitely a PlayStation game. This cutscene has been going on for ages.
Yep.
It's still going on. You know what? We're gonna just sit here and watch the cutscene. Let's not talk about it. And you just realize.
I really dislike the intro to Horizon Zero Dawn because you played as a little child.
It's
Her
annoying.
and it's like, oh please. And then once you become an adult, you're through this long tutorial section. But the game's great. It's good. We're just joking about the cutscene. Like you got to set up the mood and everything. Gaz, burn it with fire.
I mean, come on, man. Like, I'm not hearing it, so maybe I'm being roped into the gameplay and narrative. So there's that. But really, if it's a game and you do this, then there's more pressure on you to kind of pace it properly. It all looks very impressive and stuff, but
every game should start out where you're playing and fighting, and then it stops really quick and then goes to this cutscene. And a lot of really great games do that, where they give you control as soon as you hit the start button. They play, and then you're like, and then they go boom. Let's say 2 weeks before.
Yeah, exactly 2 weeks. Yeah,
but
that's good. Oh
now
my
he's playing.
God! Oh, he's finally playing.
Oh yes.
Oh, we're watching live. Asa is basically a Twitch stream now. This, bro.
Let's go see if I can drown Aloy at the start.
Sick. Look at the. I swear, if you do, what are you doing?
He's waterboarding her.
Mate, look at is that volumetric frog I'm seeing with
Oh
lighting?
yeah, the
'Cause
frogs are
obviously
so big, like massive
not
frogs
frog.
everywhere.
I meant to say fog, not frog. The game is beautiful. Wow. Even on stream. I mean, the Acer streams are ridiculously high quality anyway, because you're some, I don't know, wizard. You're a wizard, Acer. But look at that. Look at this game is beautiful. You have to give Guerrilla Games their props, man. I'm not judging it, but just the sheer length of a cutscene was long. But look at this game. I mean,
are you in performance mode, Asa?
I can't actually remember what I went on to. I could have a look and tell you.
I mean,
yes.
there's a 30 frames mode or a 60.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. See, it's so impressive.
Just want to throw a
the
stone at this
closest
guy.
thing to that is Hive Busters.
Do it.
Right. I'm trying. I don't know what the button is.
Let's see the physics.
The physics. You want to run through
Oh
some
my god, it's
foliage?
always right trigger, Asa. It's right trigger.
There we go. I'm clicking through some bushes. I'm a proper Twitter troll now. Everybody look at me.
Hey, they're moving. The vegetation is moving a bit. But yeah, so Horizon Forbidden West, definitely do try it out. Don't listen to people crying about the Metacritic score. 88 and 90 is not a massive difference. And
How
the
did
game
Forza
looks
Horizon
impressive.
5 overscore Horizon Forbidden West, though?
Oh, sauce. That's the true Horizon game.
Now he's up for favorite performance. Oh, yeah.
Aloy's in the bushes. Yes, she is. But the game looks great.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does. And yeah, well done to Guerrilla Games. They found their way with, a series. This is the second entry to a game where Killzone really, they struggled. Although Killzone 2 sitting at very high Metacritic, way higher than I think it deserved even back then. But yeah, that's a great game.
I was talking to Randall Thor 19 earlier today, and he said that they gave in his opinion, they gave out 90s like candy on Metacritic in the Xbox 360 and PS3 era. And I said, and I wanted to say this on the show, I think that when we got the 360 and PS3 era, it was the first time when the game and the cutscenes all felt they were about the same quality. Like, a lot of games before in the early 2000s, right? They would look really great in the cutscenes. They had these like pre-rendered cutscenes, and then the game was like, but you still loved it because that's just how it was. Like, you love games because they were fun, and then the cinematic moments, you had to kind of use that imagination into the gameplay. And so I feel like when we got into the 360 era with like the Rockstar games and Uncharted and Gears of War and stuff like that, where you got a game where you were in a cutscene and it was cinematic, and then when you were in the world, it felt like it was still that same quality of cinematic blockbuster excitement. And that was brand new when the 360 and PS3 era were out. That was games had finally come into where they did both. And so what happens now with the Xbox One and the Series X generation is Horizon Forbidden West is the perfect example of following the paint by numbers, open world cinematic formula of the PS3 era. And Rand says if Horizon Forbidden West released in the PS3 era, it would be a 96. But for a decade, we've played these games where they feel in the moment cinematic, and then when you're under control, they still feel cinematic. So you just have to wonder, what is the next step? Because that's the same thing that goes back to what I was saying about Cyberpunk. I mean, I want to hear Hargreet's take on this. Like, Cyberpunk does all these great things we've loved for 10 years, and it doesn't do anything really new. And I think Cyberpunk is a great game, but it doesn't wow me to where, like, when I played the Mass Effect Trilogy remastered last spring, it was like one of the greatest experiences I had so long, because games haven't really surpassed what those could do in full breadth. It's amazing. Hargreet, I got to hear your opinion on the apex curve of how games have evolved and where they are now, in your opinion.
Oh, so I have a lot to say on this one, right? But so first, I'll just go with where you were, right? Have games, not changed enough? And as far as reviews, I'd also add this. A lot of the review sites have decided to scale back how much they do. Instead of a 93 out of 100, they'll just say it's a 9 out of 10. Well, that also means it's an 8 out of 10, right? So instead of something being like an 8.8 or an 88, right? And that's going to bring the meta down, right? Because they'll say, well, okay, I'll just give it an 8. It's not really a 9. So instead of like an 87, it'll be an 8, right? Well, that brings you down, right? Then a lot of reviewers are just like, oh, I don't want to deal with the little point values. I'm just going to do 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5. And again, that's going to bring your scores down because it's going to get, averaged out that way. But as far as like the games changing, there's like what we've had in the 360 gen, which was fantastic. You had game after game after game, like Mass Effect Trilogy. Can you imagine that happening now? If Mass Effect 4, 5, and 6 are to come, we're looking at 15, 20 years before those come out? It's ludicrous, right? We had that entire thing in one generation. That's never going to happen. We're in this mode now where it's high top quality stuff that we have to expect everything to be perfect. And so now we have expectations that the game is going to wow us and it's going to, have these fantastic graphics. And like, well, what about gameplay, right? Like, to me, the best game of the last gen, I know you guys are going to hate this, is Breath of the Wild. And it has nothing to do with graphics. It doesn't matter what the graphics are. It's the gameplay. I'm
not going to hate that. Breath of the Wild is up there. In fact, I'd probably give it one of the best gameplay of all of them.
It's a Wii U game. It doesn't matter what the graphics are. You just have to make a game that's compelling, right? And but we're so stuck on that. Like, if Halo doesn't have ray traced illumination, it's not good. Well, why? What does that matter, right? Can I shoot the characters on the screen? Does it feel fun to play? Right? Is the gameplay there? Like, where's my co-op? I'd rather have that than freaking ray traced illumination. I don't care about that. Right. So, but that is where we are. Right. So it has to match graphic quality, expand the capabilities versus just give me a story. Give me a game I want to play. I'm in it. Right. Like this takes 10 minutes to get into like the actual gameplay. Are we better served by just play the game?
I mean, that's a great point, but I think in terms of gameplay design, I'm also bitterly disappointed. Bitterly, I sound like a very bitter man, but I'm disappointed at touching on game design itself. It's really quite stagnant. You have to think about. I mean, I played Ghost of Tsushima, great game, but like AI is absolutely atrocious in that. Like the enemies don't see other people in your escort missions. I've got a video clip of them just bumping into the enemy, and the enemy just like the physics actually moves them away, and it just carries on. Like, gameplay design has not changed. It's why Cyberpunk, that was being heralded by the devs and the community alike as being the next big thing, really kind of was shocking. Fell short. Like Jeff Grubb was saying, it's like an old game. It's not what you think it would be a game changer. And I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for advances in AI. That's a hard one to do, but it needs to be done. Physics. Asa, I think we've talked about this, but you had a great point about this. Do you feel like Hargreet's touched upon this gameplay design in this next gen? I can't see a single game that is good for me, and please don't bring VR into this. A single game that is changing the meta in terms of gameplay, the next big leap.
Shut up, guys. I'm ready. It's fair. I mean, it's fair and it's not fair. So when you talk about things not advancing, and you use Ghost of Tsushima as an example, that's one thing that advanced a lot in the previous generation, is the way that combat in games played out. And the Ghost of Tsushima model, the Batman Arkham model, you mentioned enemies shifting in place to do it.
Yeah.
And I sometimes criticize games for that, but actually the way that combat animations kind of interlock and everything is so much more fluid and context-based, that's something that advanced a lot over the last 5-10 years. So there are advances happening and things like that are noticeable. But I think the reason people are kind of disappointed is we're just not seeing what the current gen can do yet. And you can talk about, like Hargreet was saying, you can talk about adding ray tracing, you can talk about making things prettier, you can make the graphics good, but if you want to see fundamental changes to gameplay, these consoles should be able to deliver that. The processors in them, ignore the speeds, the clock speeds suggest that they're a lot more powerful, but they don't tell the story. The processors in these new consoles are orders of magnitude more powerful than the previous gen. You've got those solid state drives in both of them, and it's not like that's not a PlayStation special skill. Both of these consoles have really fast storage now, and these are things that should enable new gameplay, and they're not yet. So I get why people are disappointed. At the moment, we're still very much in the cross-gen phase, though, so we are still very much cross-gen, and I sincerely hope that people really tap these new consoles soon. And it's like Hargreet says, you can have a good game that doesn't do that. It's not like the games that came out 5 years ago are suddenly terrible because they don't have massively impressive physics and AI, but we've bought this hardware, and I think everyone wants to see it leveraged and see what we can really do going forwards as well. So
I mean, even like Hargreet, you made a good point about Breath of the Wild. That was running on ancient tech, but even that represents like a gameplay design more than just brute power. I think there are Nintendo will always come trumps with this, as they have, but there's something there about ingenuity in game design that I feel is lacking in games. As someone mentioned, Starfield is going to be a lot very systematic, like Fallout. That Todd Howard has said this, but maybe higher in scope. So I wouldn't expect a fundamental change in that regard. Do you?
Oh yeah, like over previous Bethesda games, if they don't deliver something that people go, wow, this is an improvement, that would be massively disappointing for Starfield. If it is literally Fallout in space or Skyrim in space, I mean, people have been waiting for years and years and years for Bethesda to move on from their engine and do something new. And you've seen what they had before on their creation engine was impressive in its way, but the creaks started to show, and you saw, I think, like Fallout 4 and Skyrim came out, and people were saying, hang on a minute, we still can't go up ladders properly in these games, like you need to update this engine. And they're updating the engine, so I fully expect to climb some space ladders, or I'll be disappointed.
Okay, fair enough. I was kind of a bit muted in my expectations. Colt, what are you expecting from Starfield? You've got some great videos covering this. Like, do you think it needs to do more than just be a Fallout in space with good graphics?
I mean, it will, because if you look at Skyrim and then into Fallout 4, you can see mechanics and things that carry over from the creation engine. And they've overhauled the creation engine for Starfield, so I think it won't be like Skyrim in space. It'll be more like an evolution of Fallout 4 with Elder Scrolls 6 on the horizon in space. I think that's because whatever they build for Starfield, they will learn their lessons, and they'll tailor it for Elder Scrolls 6 down the road. So I expect really great things with Starfield. This is something they've wanted to do for a long time, and as I said yesterday, in a world full of sequels, right? Because right now it's like the places you guys like are so excited for Horizon Part 2 and God of War 15 and Gran Turismo 7, right? And then Xbox guys are like, we have another Halo, but there's Redfall and Starfield are brand new IPs that are first party. Like Forspoken is coming to PlayStation. It's not a first party game. They bought that from Square Enix. So this is a big deal. You've got Starfield is a brand new IP from Bethesda. And when Bethesda goes out and makes a whole new experience, which doesn't include Fallout 76, great things are going to happen. So I think if any needles are going to be moved, God of War Ragnarok will probably come out this holiday, and it'll be really, really, really good. But Starfield will be like I feel like I work for SpaceX. I feel like they want a punk NASA feel.
Oh,
where
yeah.
you feel like you are grounded in what is actually going to happen in the near future for space exploration, with that touch of fantasy that Bethesda does, where you are your character you build. Your ship becomes a thing that you have ownership of and you want to improve, and you go out and you explore Bethesda Western RPG style in space with a tether to what it's really going to be like out there to try and explore the galaxies. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a big
what they
deal.
call it? NASA. What was it?
NASA Punk is what they called it.
NASA Punk. Yeah, I was
NASA
reading up
Punk.
on that NASA Punk, and I love that setting. It's more based on like. By the way, chat, if you haven't seen the movie, don't look up. Watch that.
Oh,
so
yes.
good. Such a good movie.
Since I've been like down and out, like I finally got caught up on some sci-fi movies, right? And I watched Interstellar again, which when I was watching Interstellar, I've seen it like three or four times, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I know that they took creative liberties from Interstellar, the way that movie feels. And then I watched Arrival, which is kind of a quirky movie, but
Arrival's amazing.
The way that they interpret like the near future with how we're going to deal with things as a society. And then I watched Gravity with Sandra Bullock and George Clooney, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I already know like how amazing Starfield's going to feel, where when we're going to be playing Starfield and feel like this is what it's going to be like this is not far off from the truth, but that fantasy of going out there and being out in cold space is going to be so awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm really hyped about that. That's kind of going to get me hyped. I do hope they kind of go beyond just what I just said earlier. Take care, Rick Payne. Thank you for joining us. Let me
add to it. There is that air of Star Wars, right? They have these different biomes, these different ecosystems that you're going to go to, and you'll land on them. There's one that looks like the Star Wars land in Disneyland, right? So you have these different cultures that you're going to explore. I can't wait.
Oh man, it's gonna be they have different factions, everything, the planets, biome. It's like No Man's Sky makes a good game. No Man's Sky is great. When we talk about the gameplay thing, I was like, why is there no World of Warcraft on consoles kind of version of a game? MMO RPG like Destiny's supposed to be this big thing, but just become a hub world. I don't see why I don't know. I don't get it. Why the scope isn't there? Like there should have been a WoW beta ages ago. But well, apparently Riot Games are working on it. Whilst Colt is out, I just want to catch up on a super chat from Jay the Earp. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. He goes, do you think Microsoft will let Vicarious Visions be independent of Blizzard? Asa?
Why would you do this? I do. I think that's exactly what they're going to do. I don't know how they're going to handle their studios. They're going to have some big conversations with them for sure, but they're not even allowed to have those conversations yet. So we'll see. No,
but Vicarious Visions, they did Tony Hawk. They also did the game that no one seems to remember. Hargreet, if you remember this, I will love you. Vigilante 8. Did you ever play that?
Sorry, it was muted. I did not play Vigilante 8, but yeah, no. Sorry. Vigilante
8 was one of the best car combat games ever. They need to bring it back. I've got a video coming where they can explore what kind of games. It's almost done, actually, but the Source overtook it because the Source is like that. But it's a good question. I hope there's a lot of questions around how Activision Blizzard and what Microsoft is going to do with rejigging of it. But on that point, actually, Jay, there is a point about, I was going to quickly touch on it. We heard earlier, chaps, the Activision Blizzard that approached Microsoft. Today, it seems like there's a little bit of reneging on that by Tom Warren. He writes for The Verge, and he himself said that, contrary to what we reported, it seems like Activision Blizzard was approached by Microsoft. Microsoft approached them just a few days after the Bobby Kotick sexual harassment stuff came out, so there's that. But in addition to that, Microsoft was in touch with 4 other companies and 1 individual. I don't know who this individual is. Might be Elon Musk or that robot guy at Facebook. So it could have gone a lot of different ways.
It was definitely, I'm 100% certain that the one individual was that guy that messaged the president to stop it.
Oh, yeah.
Taki something, that weird troll.
I don't even want to know the name, but they're like,
Individual.
I'll buy you for $50, please.
Please don't go to Microsoft. So that's quite interesting, but I just think we got the best case scenario, no matter how much Colin Moriarty wants to say otherwise. So there's that. But thank you, JD, for that. But finally, this is a topic that you covered in your video, Colt. Second finally. Let me release this one first.
Okay.
Perfect Dark has raised some concerns. People are concerned, Colt, because of your video. No, not because of your video, but also because you reported on what may be happening with that game. Perfect Dark may be going live service based on some studio hires and job things, and that's my reaction, Colt. It should be no. But you and I differ on this, no? You think, who cares? I think that sucks.
I think everyone has their mind made up what live service is, and then I'm scared. It could literally mean, as Perfect Dark always has, that it will have a live multiplayer component for co-op. I don't know how that works because I don't play the Perfect Dark series. I played around with the game to make this video, but not impressed with 20-year-old games, unfortunately. The overwhelming response and reception to my Perfect Dark video last week was the following. Why is the initiative working on an established IP? I don't want Perfect Dark. I don't want another first-person shooter. Why do they need Crystal Dynamics to help them? I don't understand. This is not good. Why can't they just make a big open world action adventure game? Why are they making a first-person shooter? Why is it going to be episodic? Games as a service. Games as a service titles are trash. On and on and on and on. But I specifically made that video to educate the people who don't know what's going on, because most people don't dig into the news like a content creator would, right?
Yeah.
I tried to explain to them that Daryl Gallagher, this was the plan all along. He used to lead Crystal Dynamics. He started up the initiative with that for Xbox and probably said, let's get a game. Let's do something that's already established so we don't have to concept something. Let's revive an IP. We'll vote on it. And I want to bring my Crystal Dynamics team on as a contractor. They already know me. We've worked together for a decade. We put out 2 incredible games, Tomb Raider and Rise of the Tomb Raider. It's guaranteed, it's guaranteed going to be a great situation. And Xbox says, let's do it. So they decided on Perfect Dark. Daryl Gallagher says, my team and I have already taken Lara Croft, a character that was a polygonal old 90s era thing. And we
triangular
made it,
breasts.
Right. And we brought it into the modern era
Still
with
hot.
top tier graphics. Gas! So
I just look at Ace's face when I say these things.
And let me say, I've said this before many times. I didn't like Tomb Raider. I played it on my brother-in-law's PlayStation when it first came out. I did not like the game. I've never cared about the character. I didn't watch the movies. I didn't play the side games. But when I played Crystal Dynamics Tomb Raider in 2013, I loved it to death.
I met her in real life, by the way. Angelina Jolie, by the way. But never mind. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah,
At the start of all places. I did. She was in a pool. In a pool. She squeezed my brother's cheeks.
That's
not
nice.
my cheeks, because I'm not cute enough. But
Which cheeks?
Nice.
Thanks, Hargreet. So I try to convey that Crystal Dynamics will help them make a really great game. They're worried about the Avengers. So yeah, it sucks. Like, I'm trying to get this information out there, and the majority of Xbox fans, I'd like to ask the chat, like, be honest. Well, I mean, you can't because your name's there. You can't, like, not a lot of people want to, like, just honestly say what they think about Perfect Dark. But I feel like the majority of people would say, I wish they were doing something else.
Yeah.
But, and I'm not here to defend it because I heard about Perfect Dark since 2019. I put it on a graphic. Aaron Greenberg asked me to remove it because I had the old Joanna Dark on there. He's like, can you take Joanna Dark off there? And I thought, holy crap, he's telling me that can't be on there because of a reason. 2 years later, they show Perfect Dark. So, I don't care about Joanna Dark, but I do know this game's probably going to be awesome. Now, the first-person shooter thing is a problem. I tried to convey that when you get into cover, just like Deus Ex, you'll see the character in cover in and out from first person and third person. But I feel like Xbox fans have been asking for a third-person action game, and the only one they get is Gears. And I guess you got Hellblade, right? And then Fable.
But then, see, Calcifer asks a good question. He goes, why would you get all these talented people who made iconic single-player games to make a live service game?
Because, like I said, I think the decision was early on to just get a game in the works, contract it, build it, and move on. The initiative is made up of 50 leaders in the gaming development cycle. Sony Santa Monica, Rockstar, Activision, a bunch of heavy hitters. Their job is to sit down, conceptualize a game. They conceptualized Perfect Dark. They got a working framework of the game up and running and had Phil Spencer try it out. And then they brought in a contractor. And the plan was all along, Daryl Gallagher saying, I want my Crystal Dynamics team. They're amazing. Let's get them on it. Because for those of you who've played just the single player portion of the Avengers, there are some great, beautiful, awesome moments in that game. But it's the other crap that ruined that game. That was pushed by
the live service element.
Yeah, the procedurally generated areas that you go and just procedurally generated robots, like the big set piece moments that make up the campaign are incredible. So I made fun of the game until it came to Game Pass, and I finally sat down and played it, and I really liked it. So Perfect Dark is in a weird spot. Really weird spot.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to remove this.
You catch up with that. Don't worry about the bot. We've got Ina will take care of it anyway. She's good like that. People worried about Xbox working with Crystal Dynamics have got it completely wrong as far as I'm concerned, because Crystal Dynamics are one of the best studios around. So it's a special treat to have them working on an Xbox game. I know that the Avengers didn't land well,
but disagree.
Like Colt says, the campaign in it actually has some really good moments. Visually, it was absolutely stunning on the last gen consoles. And and what they did with Tomb Raider was also phenomenal. So the 2013 Tomb Raider, I mean, I missed the triangle breasts, but apart from that, they turned that into a great character, like a really good game. I love those games. I didn't like the follow-ups in the trilogy quite as much as the first, the 2013 one, but they rebooted it so well, and they showed that they can handle characters, and I just see them as a great fit for Perfect Dark. The live service conversation is still one to keep an eye on, because for everything that everybody says about Game Pass as a model, that is just something to keep an eye on, because we know that they want to monetize these games beyond that subscription. So it's not to say that it's going to be bad. I think Amit said in chat that live service doesn't necessarily mean it's all multiplayer. It's going to become Destiny or Avengers. It doesn't. It just means they're going to keep servicing it for a while and keep trying to take a little bit of money, which can be good or bad. It's not clear cut. It's not simple, but we'll see how it ends up. I don't particularly care for Joanna Dark's previous games. I don't care that they're doing a sequel to Perfect Dark, but at the same time, I can see why the character fits and would be relevant today, and why they'd want to make her a staple Xbox franchise. So, see what they do.
Yeah, definitely. What's your take on that, Hargreet? The whole live service angle, Perfect Dark, and Crystal Dynamics contracting in.
So, I
After
mean,
one
this
of the
kind of
leads
this
leaves
kind of
initially.
gives us a good, interesting thing of why Square might have decided Crystal Dynamics working with them is a good thing, because they wanted them to do a live service game and it sucked, right? So this could be a nice way for them to try to figure out again on Microsoft's time instead of on their dime. So it is an interesting fit for them to try to figure that out. And okay, yes, Square does have Final Fantasy 14, I think it is their live service kind of game, and but Microsoft also has a lot of technology and a lot of talent and a lot of capability in that area, and they're probably going to have initiative, take advantage of everything they have in their arsenal because they just put them together, right? So that is potentially something that's interesting from a Square perspective of, hey, maybe this is the way we get Crystal Dynamics to be able to make a live service game. From personally, like a live service game, it has a potential negative or positive connotation. It depends on the way it goes, right? It can be kind of annoying. It can be really good if done correctly. Some of the things I don't like with, say, 343 with their live service is saying it's a 10-year game without telling me what the hell that means, right? That's fine if it's a brand new IP, right? It's fine if it's a brand new IP, but this is not a new IP. This is something established. We've had a cadence of stuff, and now you're telling me it's a 10-year game without telling me what that even means. Right? Yeah. Is this the end of the story? Or are you going to tell me in a year from now I have another 3 hours of campaign? Cool. Tell me that. If that's not the case, then and this is where live service becomes a headache to me, right? It's like, am I paying for that three hours? Or is that just part and parcel of my Game Pass subscription? Or is it part of my $60 purchase? Right? I don't know any of that, right? And this
None
is where
of us
live
do.
service
That's crazy.
Like,
yeah.
So so it can be great, it can be terrible, but as far as like the tech of having it done, I think this is why Crystal Dynamics, like Square, was like, yep, do that, because that way you're going to teach this team how to make the next Marvel Avengers, and they'll be able to do a better job. At least that I think is what's happening behind the scenes. So, but yeah, I don't know. I played Perfect Dark Zero. I barely played the original Perfect Dark. It was not the greatest after, because I played it way after it came out.
Right.
So like, this is kind of meh. But I played Perfect Dark Zero, finished that game. It was okay. That was a launch 360 title. It was okay. I actually like the other one that Rare put out, which was Camino, I think. That one actually was a little bit more interesting to me. So I don't know if you guys played either one of those. But yeah, this live service thing is an interesting, I don't know if it's a good or bad thing until we have details, right? So if you still have a solid core single player game that doesn't try to make you go get things so that you can pay microtransactions, then it's fine. But if that's what they're doing, you need loot boxes and stuff like, come on.
That's a great point. A great point about the fact that we don't have any insight into how the live Halo's a proper example of where it can go wrong, in my opinion. Check out the chat from Mozonator, by the way. Hargreet. I'm concerned a little bit. I'm in the minority here, like you said, Asa, Cole. The point is that you, Colt, were saying that this was always the intention to get contractors in as a 50-man team. Obviously, they were never going to go ahead and build a game to completion. And fair enough, that's fine. But when the creative lead has left and joins Insomniac, that's where I get concerned. And I'm like, what the hell, man? Like, is it all done? Like, I've left it, the creative part's finished, now take it on board. But we haven't heard that.
Yeah, and that's kind of a blessing in disguise.
Is it?
It's so hard to say this.
Say it. Just say it. This is the Source channel. You can say it.
For the year that the initiative was getting up and running and building their studio, Drew Murray was the lead of production, or I think he was lead producer or something. Creative director, maybe. I can't remember. But while he was building this initiative quadruple A experience, he was also talking about how his favorite game is Animal Crossing and some other little Nintendo games. And he is the creative force behind Sunset Overdrive, a game I really, really like a lot. Mm-hmm. But it's not what I wanted from that hole that needed to be filled for Xbox. They build this big studio. They're going to work on something brand new. And I didn't want them to make quirky, fun, and cutesy, right?
Yeah.
I wanted something good. And I'm like, I knew Daryl Gallagher was leading this and that he was the guy that turned Lara Croft into that polygonal character into like something, gritty and mature and
Sure.
brutal and awesome, right? So I wanted that. And so when he left to go finish Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, I'm like, that's where he belongs. Like that's his wheelhouse. And so as much as I love Sunset Overdrive, I didn't want anything, and it's not going to do anything quirky or cutesy in Perfect Dark, but somebody in there who, like the lead writer is Christian Canamesa, who did the writing for the Red Dead Redemption series. So there are great potential. People I know that we're like, oh, it's first person, and I don't care about Joanna Dark. I hear you. I'm with you on that. But there's such great pedigree behind this game.
Yeah.
Xbox
Splendiferous.
Show, please. Show us something.
Yeah, we need to see that. And Splendiferous with this $2 super chat, thank you for that, did actually raise the point. He goes, why not put Joanna Dark in third person? It would have been better. But really, if you remember Perfect Dark Zero, that was a bit of a hybrid when you went to kind of stealth action scenes, right? And you went to third person. Your video actually covered this as well. It kind of reminded me of that game.
Yes, the first one wasn't, and the second one was a hybrid.
Yeah.
Like Deus Ex. And help me out, Chad. What other games put you in third person? Oh, Rainbow Six Vegas does it really well.
Rainbow Six Vegas was good. That was a good example of that. There's an Unreal Tournament game that no one played that was so ahead of its time, in my opinion. Asa knows this because he's a man of refined taste. Do you remember the Unreal Tournament Leandry Conflict, maybe it was called? If you pull this up, this would be epic. But I think this was a game that Xbox tried to bring third person and first person together. And it was so good. And it was an arena shooter. I'm going to do a video on that as well. What happened to arena shooters? People are... they can't handle real games. But yeah, no, there's a lot there. I'm excited about Perfect Dark. I know it copped a lot of flack for being a bit down on the guy leaving and then Crystal Dynamics coming in. I'm generally quite positive. I just like to get a little bit more insight into things. Like you did, Hargreet mentioned really good point about live service. Your attitude is perfect in line with mine as well. We've got examples of where it's gone wrong. You found Asa's so smart. This game is
like
so
Joanna
good.
Dark.
Yeah, it does look like Joanna Dark, actually, doesn't it, with her red head? But this game was really brutal. That's why Xbox had such gems people didn't even know about. This is a mix between first person and third person. You can go. This is back in the day when first person shooters and players weren't being catered for.
What was this called?
Unreal Tournament Leandry Conflict, a game that I felt it had power-ups, it had character abilities way before it became popular with the likes of Overwatch and stuff. You had a vampire or something or whatever, and it's such a good game. It was such a good game, and the game like this arena shooters need to come back, and I have a video on that anyway, but there's so much to be done. This is what I'm talking about when we talked about earlier about scoping games and about exploring different kind of things. I'm not saying that the industry is completely defunct of fresh ideas. We see that a lot, but I see more of that in the indie space than I see in the main AAA space.
I have to say, and I think the chat is going to totally agree with me, that it is so important to be able to play a game that is made to be third person. I just think it's such a big deal. Like the immersion is so powerful in first person, but the enjoyment I think is so much higher in third person. Like some games where you can, some games you can flip back and forth, like Fallout, but the shooting is not very precise when you're in third person in Fallout. And like a game that is made to shoot over the shoulder or interact over the shoulder like that, it really is impressive. Really, really impressive. And
it really is. Yeah, no, it really is. Well, chat, this has been a first. We had a 3-man overlay, then transition into one of our community guys. Now you're part of the... Well, I'm just going to call you now. Hargreet, you're going to get famous. Well done. Well done for... You smashed it, by the way. Shout out to the 400 people watching. Smash that like button. You know you have no choice to smash that like button because of Hargreet. Shout out to him.
So, I'm just curious, guys. You're not going to go over the Capcom thing?
What's the Capcom thing?
there's Capcom news on Monday.
Huh? What? Wait, what?
Jeff Grubb has told us that there's a countdown that Capcom are announcing something on Monday, and Jeff Grubb has said it's Street Fighter 6. And said it fairly confidently, so you can take that away. It's going to be Street Fighter 6. And there are questions on what platforms that might be arriving on.
I swear to God, Sony, if you money hat that, just buy Capcom instead of money hatting, you mother.
Why? It's so much cheaper than buying the cow.
How do we know that's not the announcement? How do we know it's not? Sony bought Capcom, and along with that
would be big. That would be huge. And Sony could potentially buy that if they stretch themselves. It'd be a smart buy. If I was Sony, I'd buy it, Capcom. But if it's Street Fighter 6, then I think. What do you? Oh well, Hargreet, you brought this up. I didn't even know about it. What do you think? What do you think this Monday thing's gonna be? And if it's Street Fighter 6, where do you think it's coming?
There's so many oddities here, right? Like he just came back from Japan, right? So if there is anything going on with Microsoft, and that doesn't mean purchase. It could just mean, hey, we're gonna market Street Fighter 6, right? So it's gonna be marketed with Xbox this time instead of it being exclusive to PlayStation. That could be a thing. It could be Dead Rising's coming back. I don't know, right?
I wish.
Right, and so it's any potential. But like, if I had to read what's going on, I would say it's Street Fighter 6, and then it's probably something to do with Sony. That'd be my guess. But it could very well be something with Xbox, because Phil just literally came back from there, right? So
I didn't even know you just came back. But okay, so wait, so there's a official reveal,
Capcom.
Wow,
They're doing something. They're doing something. They have a countdown timer on their site. There's a countdown timer that ends on Monday. And so we're getting something.
3, 5, 6. We're getting something. Oh wow, that's pretty epic. Oh shoot! Wow. Oh man, who imagines they bought Capcom? That's mad. Because a lot of people say that Japanese studios can't be bought. You know, we talked about last week. Actually, something I forgot to bring up.
Don't get carried away. It's a countdown timer to a Capcom announcement. It's not going to be, hey, we got announced and didn't tell anyone.
I was just trying to drum up some hype. I'm hyped. Look, hey. Japanese Phil Spencer just, like Hargreet said, Phil Spencer just came back from Japan. Things are happening.
Yeah,
at the same
it's
time,
more likely that they're going to announce
Platinum.
that Phil Spencer is the main protagonist of Street Fighter 6 than this is an acquisition of Capcom.
And he brings up money bags. Bam!
That's the special move, is throwing money bags at people. Okay, fine. But, to address the point about Japanese studios not being able to be bought, that's completely false. And Gamers Watch with a £2 super chat. Thank you. Shout out to Gamers Watch. Follow them. They're in the source video. Brilliant. They went so hard on the source video. The timer is going to count down to an NFT drop. You're doing so well, and then you did that super chat. Don't you dare make that prophecy come true. But Japanese studios can be bought. Platinum have come back and said it last week, where you talked about Twitter things and whatnot. Well, they've now come back in an article, in an interview with VGC, have said that, so Kamiya talked about this, and he talked about, I've got it here, I forgot to even tackle the topic, but he goes, this is to embellish on his tweets where he was talking about being open to a buyout. So he says, the most important thing for us is to have the freedom to make games that we want to make. When I hear about the recent acquisitions, I don't think, he's talking about Xbox and Activision, I don't think Microsoft's going to start micromanaging, Activision, he mentioned it by name, so to where they take all their freedoms away. I don't think it's going to be a relationship like that. He's going out of his way talking about how he has confidence in Xbox and Activision. I think there's going to be a lot of mutual respect, he says. And I think Activision will be able to continue what they're doing best. That's also what's most important to us at the end of the day, whatever form that takes for us and our company. So I would not turn anything down as long as our freedoms are well respected. And to the point where we talked about, Japanese consolidation and stuff, and why Japan's biggest companies don't seem to be consolidated frequently by Western companies, he actually tackled that. He says he was surprised there weren't more mergers and acquisitions. He goes, you don't see much of that in Japan, and personally I think it's weird, he says, for some of these big companies with all their money, you sometimes think, come on, buy some companies already. He wants the money. We said this last week, he desperately wants that money. It does feel strange to see Japanese companies being passive all the time. That might change. That will change. That's my prediction. It's not even it's going to happen. Big Japanese outfit's going to be acquired either by Sony, but most importantly by a Western company. Microsoft's going to acquire something. 100%. 1 trillion%. It's going to be Capcom on Monday. Asa, no, don't hit me.
Roll back one super chat.
I'm just literally going to I was going to have some Ye of Little Fate. Dead Planet. You think I was going to forget about your super chat? Don't need to rely on Asa. I was going to say, well, any worry, and this is a great point. This is why I want to bring it at the end. If there's any worry, I'm worried about Xbox allocating too much time to these studios cold. Momentum is so short-lived in the gaming industry, and Xbox must be proactive. And I say that's a big risk, and I say I'm worried because Xbox is doing all this buying, all these studios, all these publishers. There's a lot of time in assimilation. Someone needs to manage these. Someone needs to get the stick out. Okay, too much time. 2018, what you've been doing. I agree with. Well, Dead Planet's not making a suggestion here. I am concerned. What do you think, Colt?
About them like putting the smack down and getting these games out?
Yeah, man. I think they need to. I think they're going to have a big problem on their hands with all these buyouts. And who is sitting there managing them? Matt Booty?
No, I mean, they don't, because Bethesda and ZeniMax are self-managing their releases. And their stuff belongs to Xbox. Activision and Blizzard will still retain their leadership, minus Bobby Kotick. So they'll continue to do what they do. I mean, yeah, Xbox needs to step in and fix some things, but Xbox also needs to fix their own things at their own home with their studios. I would ask them to take out the big stick and start smacking knuckles on their own studios. But then again, like I said at the beginning of the show, I don't want rushed games from Xbox. That was the biggest problem they had to endure for an entire decade.
Yeah,
was to crank out games and meet fiscal requirements, fiscal year deadlines, and it's been bad. Like, they did it with their third-party studios, just get the game out, we'll fix it later. No more. So we just have to wait until the end of this year. I hate that. I wish I didn't say that. I wish I didn't say it. Hargreet made me say it. There, I'll blame Hargreet. I'm tired of waiting. But
I mean, the waiting is one thing, managing is another. Is my point. Like, are they actually looking at them to manage them? I'm on the whole take your time to make a game if that time is being well spent. But who is, because Sony does this. David Jaffe has said this. They're very good at getting someone in there, a team in there, even if it's like rocked up to a crap hotel next door and oversee things. Like, they're like, we give you full autonomy, and people get a bit lazy. Who's doing the quality control as well?
It's a difficult one though, because we always have that conversation on like, what do you want? Do you want them to give studios freedom, or do you want them to get in there and crack the whip and make them bend to your will? And everyone always kind of accused Xbox of meddling too much and forcing people to make live service games, and saying, oh, Sony just let them do whatever they want. And the evidence is the opposite. If you look at the previous generation's games, there's no way that Sony are letting those studios do whatever they want. They're very much mandating what product gets delivered. And like you say, like David Jaffe said, they send people out to help with the polish and make sure that certain standards are hit and that certain expectations are met. Not just for their own games. He was talking about, I mean, the game of the moment when he was saying that was The Medium coming out on Xbox, and he was saying that, okay, Xbox didn't have any first-party games when The Medium was due to launch. If it were Sony, they'd be sending a team into Bloober and making sure that that game came out absolutely perfect to stand on its own. There's not a right and wrong answer. What everybody wants to see is Microsoft give their studios support and freedom at the same time. And it is fair to say that they've got a challenge ahead of them to manage release schedules. We were talking about, Hargreet was talking about Avowed earlier, and talking about the scope and scale of it. And I didn't say at the time, but the thing that I thought then is, yes, Microsoft are going to give them a lot of money, but they also have to give them a mandate to release that game before Fable comes out. Or after. It can't be at the same time. So they have to manage these, otherwise they are going to hit some problems.
Yeah. Hargreet?
Yeah, so look, there's several ways to look at this, right? So Phil is kind of running his own little thing, right? But this is Microsoft. They release tons of software. So this is just software, right? However, it's a creative endeavor that also includes software. So it is a little bit of a different, twist.
Yeah, I was going to say.
However, as far as managing releases, Microsoft does this. This is something they do all the time. They have tons of things that are running cloud, on desktop, on servers, everywhere, right? So I don't think that part of it is a problem. I think it's mixing in the creative endeavor of making something, playable, fun, and compelling, also delivering in high quality, right? And that is something they kind of need to get that formula down. But that is why they went and got Bethesda. That is why they went and are going to get Activision. You can't say that those games aren't high quality. They are, right?
Yeah.
So, that is what they're trying to get, is say, yeah, Activision, Blizzard, you can keep doing your thing. We're going to give you the money, but we expect you to deliver. And that was what they were doing with most of these acquisitions, was to say, I want a studio that's been good at delivering, right? And maybe they take time, maybe they don't have the funds to make it awesome, but they make a game that people play and it's quality, right? And that was kind of part of what they went after. A couple of studios may not have been there, right? But most of the ones they bought had been like that. So I think they have that focus. They do help other studios if they want it, right? So Xbox doesn't go out and say, hey, we're going to force the medium, you need to go, Bloober team, you need to, take our resources and make it better. They'll offer it. Hey, do you want help? Cool. We have people to help you out. If it's hardware level help, if it's software level help, our dev kit doesn't make sense, talk to us, right? I think, Asa, your point, and Sony probably does do the opposite and say, no, you're putting this, we're marketing it, we want to make sure it's good. Okay, fair, right? But that is a different mindset, a different model. And I don't see
change.
Phil, I don't see Phil changing that, because Phil is like that. He wants to help, not dictate.
Culture.
Right?
He's already set the culture. Why would he change it now? Yeah.
So, and it's worked. I mean, let's just be honest. It's worked. Now, to Asa's point in the beginning, right? Microsoft is going to have so many games coming out. The problem won't be, oh, you don't have a game to release. It'll be, when do you release the game? Because you don't want to conflict with your own stuff, right? And third-party releases. So that's where they're going to end up, right? You have ABK plus plus ZeniMax plus your own studios, and then let's say they do buy a Square or Sega or something like that. That's a lot of games to manage as far as release cycle. That's going to be their fun. Is going to be like, when do I put what out and make sure I still get a lot of audience, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be an interesting thing.
That's a good problem to have.
It absolutely is. It is, yeah. But
is.
that's why Game Pass, it needs it, right? Game Pass is a thing that's just going to need content.
That's why, yeah. Oh, right? Absolutely. That's it thrives on that. That's a necessity. That's why they're doing this buying spree. Yeah. But yeah, well said. Very well said. Faisal, good to see you. Thank you so much for the £4.49 super chat. What is the real roadmap for the rest of 2022 and early 2023? And are the Xbox Series X tools mature now? A lot of speculation. We don't know about a lot of the roadmap for Xbox, but you talked about it earlier in the show if you want to catch up with Avowed and stuff. The Series X tools, no, it doesn't look like it. I don't see what has changed. Colt, I think their tools are still in their infancy.
I talked to someone that said the instructions are the biggest problem with getting games on the Series S and X to run properly and at their best. The instructions and how would you describe, what's the other word? The methods that they must go through when they're putting games, when a multi-plat developer puts a game on a PlayStation 5, the process is nearly the same as they've been doing for a decade with the PS4. So they're familiar, they know how to get it up and running, they get the best performance out of it right off because they know what they're doing. But with the XDK, it is still a growing and groaning experience for them. And that's Xbox's responsibility to alleviate all of that. And right now they're taking... It's taking its toll on how games perform. There's no reason that there's a lot of games where Xbox runs at a higher resolution than the PS5, but it runs with less performance. It just doesn't add up. And Digital Foundry said it many times. Like, this shouldn't be a problem. A game like Dying Light 2 shouldn't run at 30 on a Series S. Like, there's no excuse. It's the developers are having a really hard time. It's not Xbox's call, but they need to make it better for them. And it's a bad look on Xbox. So
Yeah.
that should be a priority for them. I don't know what's going on. But then again, there's a lot of things with the Xbox itself that are not up to par or not up to snuff. The when I hit the game DVR is dark, it's unreliable, the share feature is half broken. When I hit the Xbox button, the Nexus button in the middle of the controller, sometimes it takes 5 to 8 to 15 seconds to pop up the flyout menu for the dash. They need to get HDR on the dash so it doesn't have to shake hands with their TV every time you pop out of a game to go to a party chat. Like, come on. It's next generation. Get this stuff going. Let's get it working.
It's taken way too long to get these
been over a year.
Right.
It's bad.
Yeah.
And
they need to fix that.
I don't know. I've talked to some of the people behind the scenes, and they've told me for months, yes, we're working on that. We're working on that. We're working on that. I just have to wonder what Hargreet said. Like, are we looking back at this when it's all said and done and think, man, it was really, we were lucky to get anything done during the pandemic. I mean, the PS5 still doesn't have a web browser, doesn't have VRR. Like, everything's really far behind.
Yeah. PlayStation having VR is actually a bit of a problem for that console. Quite. Nagarax, thank you so much for the £5 super chat. I haven't watched in a few weeks. Gaz, are you using teeth whitener now? Maybe perhaps my teeth were yellow before, but they're not now. So there's that. But yeah, I mean, I think that covers it, ladies and gentlemen. Apart from the fact that we have I don't know if you're big Elden Ring fans, but Elden Ring is coming out Friday. I'm trying to get one person on next week who is a big Elden Ring fan. But
it's me. I'll be here. Don't worry.
I said she, but okay. So if you're transitioning, that's fine. But it's Erica for the win. I'm trying getting her on. But Elden Ring's coming out next week. We don't want to cannibalize the topic. A lot of it's going to be speculation anyway. But I will just ask before the game's released, and we'll have the benefit of the reviews and egg on faces. Hargreet, tell us in chat what your Metacritic, because it's so important, prediction score is going to be for Elden Ring. Your first appearance, we put you on the spot. What's your prediction for the Elden Ring Metacritic?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Their games generally tend to do pretty well, right? So I'd say probably high 80s, my guess.
High 80. So be more specific. Come on. 88. 88. Good. That's a good shout. So Jigga says 88 as well. Carlos says 82. KR83 Flame 82 to 86. 82 to 86. Come on, Flame. Got to be a little bit more specific. Some 90s. Dead Planet with the 91. Colt. I don't even know you like these games. Do you like Soulsborne games?
No, I don't. I've tried them. Okay. I don't really like them, but yeah, I'm with Hargreet. I think an 88, 87 or 88.
Yeah. I think 91.
I think if you look back at the Souls games, they don't always score super, super high, but that's still a high number. So they'll do well. People are going to go crazy. It's George R.R. Martin. It's a Souls game. It's probably one of the most anticipated games the entire year. So it'll be a big deal.
Have they done a lot of 90s? Did Sekiro go in the 90s? I don't remember if Sekiro went in the 90s.
No, I think it was an 89 or something.
Abe from Xbox era says 91. Abe, he's the sensible one from Xbox era. Me and him agree. 91.
91, wow.
And the man who likes to throw eggs in my face. I don't think I've forgotten from your animation that you made years ago about me saying the Series S wouldn't be as cheap as it was. Acer, what's your score? And don't you dare sit on a fence. You have to give a number.
No, this is a weird one, actually, because Elden Ring has something going in its favour in that people are so hostile to people that don't play Souls games. So it will be almost exclusively reviewed by people that like Souls games, which is... not really how reviews should work necessarily, right. But it's going to help it. It's going to help it score, because if you don't like Souls games, you don't review this one. So it's going to be reviewed by mostly real big fans, and it's going to get a 90, I would say.
Yeah, 1991. No, so me and Ace, I think, is going to score quite highly. It looks good. I want to take some time off to play that. It looks really nice. Now, Greg, thanks so much for the £5 super chat. I guess, will we have anyone on the show to talk metaverse, gaming, NFTs, and Web3? No, Gregs, we try to keep our audience awake during our shows. But if you want to induce comas into our audience, you're welcome to suggest a guest that may be suitable. I don't know. Actually,
we did try to talk
talks.
about it last on Sunday on my show, and
metaverse is quite important.
We don't know. We don't even know what it is.
You know, so I just say on that, like, it is a topic, and there are things to talk about, but it's not a topic that most of our audience want to sit for 2 hours and listen. So, Nagarex, I will look into that for a video rather than a live show.
That'd be good, though.
Nice.
I'd be interested in the video for that. That'd be interested. Because like in Futurama, do we get sex dolls? That's what metaverse is for me.
Yes!
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great chat. And on that inappropriate note, please smash that like button if you enjoyed the show. It was so good having you guys in chat as well, just kind of going. So we've got average 88, I would say, for Elden Ring. I'm thinking it's going to score well. Flame, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. No more super chats, please. But Gaz, only a Sith guesses numbers in absolutes. Exactly. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us. And this is time for our gents to... Oh, this is going to be so fun. So, Hargreet, tell us what's in store for all your fans. What content are you coming up with? Where can they see you next? I saw people in chat like, get Hargreet in every week. Trust me, man. You're not signed up to anyone. GameOnDaily might get its hot brand and slap it on your ass because you've been great. You've been great so far. But that sounded very Jeffrey Epstein. No, but yeah, you've killed it. You killed it today, and it's an absolute pleasure and an honor. Did you?
Well, thanks for having me.
How was your experience? This is your debut. Great. This is the first time ever you've done it, a live show. How was your experience? And chat, how was Hargreet? Only good nice things.
Let me know. I have a channel. I've put like very few videos up there, but it's go take a look if you want. And I'll try to keep making more. And yeah, this was great. Like just chatting. I mean, I kind of, except for Asa, we don't actually hang out much with Asa, but Gaz, you and Colt, we hang out all the time now, right? So just kind of talking to friends. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's what we want to give that feeling of being with friends. Chat loves you. Game Max scores 9 out of 19. Claymud, you suck. No, you were awesome. Yes, you were. You were killing it.
Hargreet, tell them what your channel's called and where to find it.
I think we have it in the chat, right?
Yeah, Isla Drummond.
Oh, she did put it in there.
Beast. How did
there it is.
Well, Isla, do you live in the metaverse? That's amazing. Thank you so much. And shout out to Isla, by the way. She is always seen regularly in Ace's streams. Always really happy. Very happy. Not chemically induced happiness either. But shout out to Isla.
That's the only happiness. That's the only happiness that Gaz knows. Chemically induced.
Sauce is a chemical. Colt, man, you killed, bro. You sound better. Hey, COVID didn't even stand a chance against you. This is how I feel. You don't look it, man. You look fresh. You killed it as always. Look. At least you, instead of sitting at home just festering, you joined.
Feeling sorry for myself. Oh yeah. No, thank you so much. I really didn't think I would get sick. I don't know how to say that. The last time I was sick was like a couple weeks after I got home from E3 in 2019. I got the flu for like 3 days. And I had to be out of town for work the following Monday, and I was like, no. But I've gone this long without being sick, and it's a big deal because I use my voice a lot, and I've been able to make a video and now a podcast every week, uninterrupted, until I got the Rona. So yeah, thank you so
We did
much,
it.
and thank you all the people who sent DMs to me and asked me if I was doing okay. That means a lot. I know you're asking because you're nice people, but I think of it way more than that. So thank you so much. That means a lot to me. And Asa, you and Gaz having me on your show makes me feel normal again. So thank you so much for having me on. And before I take another breath and say, I got to say, Hargreet, thanks for being an awesome friend. Such an honor to be on the show with you and to have you talk to these people on this side of the wall. It's amazing.
Right?
So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh man, thank you both. Thank you everyone in chat. Thank you Jigger J for the super chat late in the day. When are you going to eat super hot wings live on camera again? I'm thinking of doing. I've been talking about doing streaming for ages. Actually, the designs are being worked up, but maybe then, or I could do it now. We'll do it for a milestone. If someone becomes, I don't know, member or no, not membership. Hit 20k, I will do it. I will do 15k. I will hit.
Oh, he's lowering the standards as we speak.
Right, I have my standards already low. But yeah, 15k. I'm not even just crappy hot sauce. I'm talking about, those hot sauces I had. Mongoose is the hottest sauce you can buy. I will do the sick one. Ace is like, shut up, guys. I just need to do the outro. But no, I want to talk to the people. Hot sauce. I will do it. 15k. Just remind me. But everyone, chat, thank you so much for joining us. Smash that like button. We've got another video coming out. If you saw the sauce video we released today, I don't know how the algorithm treats it. Definitely watch it if you want to see some sauce. And we've got a non-sauce video. Definitely come out next week. Thank you for being patient. Love you all. Smash the like button and see you next week.
Yeah, so sometimes Gaz forgets my outro and then I have to just interject. And it's important, right? Because I can't let this one slide.
No.
You are
brought
a
this upon
human
yourself.
piece of
Asa
garbage,
was like
Gaz.
this. Asa was doing this the whole time, and I'm getting pressure because he's like there. He's like, okay, he wants me to shut up.
I understand. You've misinterpreted my waiting for my outro dance. That was my waiting for my outro dance. There was no way I was going to let this one slide because Hargreet's here for the first time. So I have to say thank you. Like, Hargreet, you stepped up and you've done a great job. Like everyone in the chat has been saying, they've been loving listening to you as well. So well done. And thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Cole, people don't know this. Colt actually cancelled yesterday. Colt couldn't do the show because he's got the Rona. So he's also stepped up massively. And Colt, it's always great to talk to you. So thank you very much for coming on. I was looking at chat the whole time. Our chat's been amazing. Like the chat today has been great. Dead Planet was thanking us for our interactivity with chat. It's the other way around. Like, thank you everybody for interacting with us. That's fantastic. It really does make these shows fun. And now the show is over. But guys, you can do your brap if you want. I'm not doing that. See you next week.